Now, what's going on with you today? Hope you're doing good. Want to have a little conversation about this story involving Yo Gotti and his brother. You might have heard about this story, but the other day it was reported that Yo Gotti's brother ended up getting gunned down right after he had attended a funeral. So the story is essentially this, right? Yo Gotti, his brother, Anthony Big Jook Mims, they were in town in Memphis, where they're from, to attend a funeral of another man by the name of Eric Boven. Now, apparently Eric was their uncle, and everybody knew that they were going to be in town for it, and it was posted about a week ahead of the actual service. So they eventually arrived to Eric Boven's funeral. Yo Gotti was there in the flesh. His brother Big Jook was there in the flesh. Gotti's mother was also there. Their homies were there, and a lot of their family were attending as well. There's even this funeral footage that was posted online on the internet, and then right there you see Yo Gotti, and then right there, you know, the big guy right there, that's Big Jook. Now it's right after the funeral ended that something happened. As Big Jook was inside his car, somebody pulled up and started shooting. He unfortunately caught the bullets and they were fatal. Yo Gotti's brother Big Jook was officially later then pronounced dead at the hospital.
Good evening, Daniel. Well, at least 5 police sources have confirmed with Fox 13 that the person killed is Anthony Mims, also known as Big Jook. Now, Big Jook is the brother of rapper Yo Gotti. Now, we were at that scene earlier tonight. Police say 2 men were shot outside Perion's restaurant and event center around 4:15. Now, that's on Winchester near Kirby. According to the Memphis Police Department, the victim was inside a vehicle at the time and was brought here to St. Francis Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased.
Now, there's a lot of things that come into play in this particular story. The first one is, of course, Young Dolph. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of this, but for those who are not, CMG, Collective Music Group, that's Yo Gotti's imprint, and PRE, Paper Route Empire, that's the late Young Dolph's imprint. They've had a really long history of ongoing beef, and this is something that's been very much known. Dolph, while he was here on certain occasions, he even spoke about a couple things related to this.
I'm gonna just tell y'all the truth, man. I can't respect nothing like, it's like, the music cool, the money cool, all that. But if I don't respect you, if it's something about you I just don't respect, Roger, I can't sit and fake and act like it's all good.
So when Dolph eventually got gunned down back in 2021, a lot of people were pointing towards Yo Gotti and CMG due to their history. Now, Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, on several occasions after Dolph had passed away, mocked his death.
I don't paint no beside 2 real niggas. 2 real niggas with a pussy in the middle, man. Y'all don't do that, man. Don't about legacy. So pussy right here, y'all.
So this was greatly amplifying the tension that already existed between CMG and PRE. So there's a lot of other very specific details that come into play, which I'm actually not going to go over because it involves a lot of street politics. And if you want to hear about street politics, you don't come to me, okay? That's not really what I do over here. What can I say? I know my lane and I'm gonna stick to it. But I do want to take a look at Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook's last Instagram post 4 days ago, and this is what he said. They don't want to face you. They don't want to snake you. Stay alert to stay alive. Watch your back at all times. Put snakes on a plate and eat gray. So I don't know what you think, but I think it's kind of bizarre that he put this up and then a couple days later he gets snaked by the same snakes that he was talking about in his caption. When it comes to stories like this, I always like to bring up the fact that the tongue is a very powerful tool. The words that come out of your tongue will eventually lead to those things manifesting in physical form. And I think the kind of energy that you put out to the world is one of those things that you definitely need to be conscious of, because more times than not, especially when it comes to stories like these, there's a lot of them specifically in hip-hop. As an example, an artist is telling a certain tale in their music over and over again, and eventually what ends up happening is they become victims of that same story they were putting in the music. And personally, I don't think that's a mistake. I think that happens because the words that come out of your mouth can lead to 2 things. The first thing is the destruction of your future, or the second one is the creation of your future. More times than not, in hip-hop specifically, we see a lot of our artists using these words to promote things that aren't really going to lead to a longer life, simply put, right? For this specific story, it seems like these people really had it out for Big Jook, and they're definitely determined to take him out. And if you want to do something like that, honestly, a funeral is probably the best place, right? Because that's the place where your mind is scattered in so many different places. Your emotions are all over the place. You're probably feeling very despondent from this loss. You're probably very numb to your environment because you're so broken from losing this person. And so this is like the best place to do it because they can catch you off guard. You know, a lot of times when we cover stories like these, we might feel like things are, I guess, like insulated in a sense that since it's not happening to you or anyone that you love, you might feel a strong sense of disconnect. And you might not realize how serious of a thing it is that's going on. Now, for this particular story, we are talking about a rap beef that eventually turned into a street beef. But the rapper aspect aside, we're talking about real people dying, okay? Like real bloodshed. And sometimes it just gets me thinking like, okay, wow, this is one story and this is one individual, but how many other individuals are going to be affected by this in the process? How much is this going to trickle itself down into the community, like in this case, Memphis, because everything has a domino effect. And Memphis, according to some stats, is unfortunately breaking a lot of records as far as homicides.
Steph, well, according to Memphis police, there have been 91 more homicides this year compared to last year at this time. And as crime continues to go up, people continue to be fed up.
We have to do better as a community. We have to stop the senseless acts of violence that continue to plague the city of Memphis.
Memphis police officer Chris Williams pleading with the community today to stop the violence after working the scene of the 352nd homicide in the city so far this year.
We're tired of it. This community is tired of it. We have to do better.
According to the latest numbers by the Memphis Police Department this year, we have seen almost 100 more homicides than last year at this time. 352 this year compared to 261 last year.
And you know, a lot of times we have a tendency to think, oh wow, this is just a hip hop thing. But not really, because you know, even though hip hop definitely glorifies it and promotes it and benefits from it, all this violence existed way before hip hop. I think now we just have a microscope that's been placed on a lot of these stories that a lot of them are going viral as well, and most times they involve a lot of notable people, which makes them more interesting than they actually are. But if you take a look at the stats, this is just another day in a lot of communities. I think the trauma for a lot of these things, you know, obviously, first of all, it manifests itself in a fatherless household. That weight is now going to be placed on the shoulders of the single mothers in our communities, specifically the black community, because a story like this, it involves black people, so it's a black issue. So I'm kind of looking at this and I'm like, yo, what's really the impact of this? Aside from what we've already seen, how bad can it really get? And what exactly is it gonna take for the violence to cease to exist? I think the saddest part is like there's so many people, man, just like innocent people getting caught in a crossfire of all this gang shit going on. Like we're talking children, because I've heard a lot of stories of like children catching bullets to their head as they're walking to school or walking to their dad's house, or they're just out walking somewhere, and then boom, out of nowhere, next thing you know, they're being carried away in a body bag. So that's where a lot of my sympathy lies, honestly, because at the end of the day, it's one thing if it's affecting anyone who's involved, but it's another thing if a bunch of parents in so many different communities have to worry about their children getting caught in the crossfire of something they had nothing to do with. So this is something that's definitely not insulated at all. I know a lot of people might feel like it is because it's not affecting them, but you got to keep in mind it doesn't affect you until it does. How many people didn't think that the violence in another community isn't going to come to their community until it eventually did? And by the time it does, it's already too late because the damage has already been done. As for this Yo Gotti story, I hope he stays safe because this was a pretty close call. I know that he's lost a lot of people throughout his time in the industry, so this is not, unfortunately, something out of the ordinary for him. However, if people around him are dying, who's to say that he one day won't be the one catching that bullet, right? I think in the end, in a situation like this and in a story like this, nobody really wins. A lot of the street politics, which I don't really even have an understanding of, go so deep, and that's also the same reason why I don't think it's gonna stop anytime soon. Anyway, there you have the video. Any thoughts on this story right here? Curious to hear what you have to say about this story involving Yo Gotti's brother getting taken out after he attended a funeral. Really eerie, isn't it? Like imagine attending a funeral and then having one planned for you at the end of that funeral. Really crazy and really scary. Do you have any thoughts on this topic though? Curious to hear what you have to say. Catch you in the comment section below, but most importantly of all, I'll catch you on the next video. Peace. I'm out.